Good evening. I'll call the meeting to order. Welcome to everyone. I know there's an agenda item that a lot are excited about this evening, and I appreciate all of you coming out tonight, and we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to ask Commissioner Allman to lead us in the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Apostle Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians 1:25, "For the foolishness of God is wiser than human wisdom, and the weakness of God is stronger than human strength." Every meeting that I'm asked to pray, I always pray that God grants us wisdom as commissioners and discernment. Please join me in prayer. Father God, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Thank you for the freedoms that you've given us, God. Thank you for the forefathers that started our country, God. Thank you for all that you do for us. Father, I lift up our county to you. I lift up our county staff. I lift up our fellow commissioners, our sheriff and first responders, EMS staff, and I pray that our business tonight glorify you. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Allman. Are there any adjustments to the agenda this evening? If not, we'll seek a motion for approval.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Lawhon. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Furr. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 1 on tonight's agenda is presenter Mr. Curtis Melton, a public hearing to name Bonnie and Clyde Drive.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I bring before you tonight a proposal to name a private driveway off of Gaddis Ferry Road. Proposals brought to you by the sole landowner in the area, Mr. Benjamin Beecham. The timeline is in your packet there of all the issues there concerning the proposal, and I stand ready to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Mr. Melton? Seeing none, I will go ahead and declare, I have to do a public hearing, right? Yeah, sorry. I'll go ahead and declare the public hearing open. Is there anybody here to speak for or against the naming of the road? For or against? Seeing none come forward, I'll declare the public hearing closed. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Furr?
make the motion, we go ahead and approve this amendment to name it Bonnie Clyde Drive.
A motion from Commissioner Furr to approve the naming of the road Bonnie and Clyde Drive. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Allman. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Milton. Item number 2 is a repeat from last week or 2 weeks ago, the Gaston Community Action Board of Directors appointment. Presenter is going to be County Manager Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This item, as you mentioned, is a holdover from the last meeting. We brought you back some additional information about the Gaston Community Action Group. The unfortunate thing is we don't have any other additional applications that have come forward in that 2-week period. So although you have more information about when they meet and what they do, we don't have any additional folks that have applied. So I don't know if you want to table this item again until we have applications, and then we can bring them forward at that time. I'll be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions for County Manager Lucas?
I've got one.
Commissioner
The,
Jordan?
the position has to be a public official, is that correct? Or is that county employee?
No, it just needs to be an individual appointed by you as a public board. It can be a private citizen.
Okay, so I did not know that because I got the impression last time that it needed to be one of us.
No, it does not.
So can we maybe table this one more month and let's make an effort to go out there and find somebody that would volunteer for that role. Because if we do have folks that have offered to volunteer for things, I don't know that they knew that this role was open to them. So I guess
I'd be
that's my
glad to
motion.
consider that a motion.
I'd like to make that a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Jordan to table until the first meeting in February. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Almond. Second meeting in February? Okay. Second meeting in February? Okay. So motion and a second by Commissioner Almond. Is there any other discussion? Morgan, my apologies. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 3 is the property conveyance to the Stanley County Historical Society. Again, presenter, County Manager Lucas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This action item, you took action on this actually roughly a month ago. And there were some minor concern in the language that was in the resolution from the Historical Society. This is where the board is essentially conveying the historic properties to the Historical Society and divesting ourselves of that program. And so this is just the revised resolution that I have shared with you previously, and that the board has appeared to be okay with. And also in there is a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement with the Historical Society that basically memorializes the terms of that conveyance. And so everyone's on the same page, and that 5, 10, 15 years from now, there's a document that governs that relationship and when some of us are no longer here. So if you have any questions, I'd be more happy to answer those.
Any questions? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Motion to approve by Commissioner Jordan, I believe. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lawhon. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 4 on tonight's agenda is the Second Amendment Rights Resolution. Presenter, Vice Chairman Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. About 2 weeks, I guess it's been a little over 2 weeks ago, I had a few citizens approach me in regards to taking action with the resolution. At that time, there was just a couple of counties in our state that have done this. Within the last 2 weeks, there's been multiple counties that have passed this resolution as well. It's a sad state in our country that we have to pass a resolution like this to protect our Second Amendment rights. I'm a full supporter of it, and I believe it's in our Constitution that states we are granted the right to bear arms. The left continues to try everything they can to take our rights away, whether it's liberal judges. They tried to legislate from the bench instead of going off the Constitution as it sits. With this resolution, basically, we are showing our support of the Second Amendment as Stanley County and our citizens. Also, with this resolution, we are supporting our sheriff and the deputies who ultimately falls on upholding the Constitution. And if laws are passed to infringe on our rights, that's where it falls. This resolution is basically stating that we are behind our sheriff, our deputies, and that we are against any law that is passed that infringes upon our Second Amendment rights. So with this resolution, I'd like to read it so y'all can hear what it states. The resolution declaring Stanley County a sanctuary county for Second Amendment rights. Whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners and the Sheriff of Stanley County offer forth an action to ensure the Second Amendment constitutional rights of the law-abiding citizens of Stanley County are protected, and whereas the sheriff and the deputies of the Stanley County Sheriff's Office are sworn to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, whereas the Constitution of the United States is the supreme law of our nation, and whereas the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed on. And whereas the North Carolina Constitution, Article 1, Section 30 states, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And as standing armies in time of peace are dangerous to liberty, they shall not be maintained, and the military shall be kept under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. Nothing herein shall justify the practice of carrying concealed weapons or prevent the General Assembly from enacting penal statutes against that practice. And whereas the right to bear arms is necessary for self-defense, the defense of others, including family members, the protection of individual liberty, and for the preservation of our United States Constitution. Whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners is concerned about the passage of any bill or legislation which could be interpreted as infringing the rights of law-abiding citizens of Stanley County to keep and bear arms, or which may unduly restrict their right to the same, and whereas the criminal misuse of firearms is not a reason to infringe the rights of law-abiding citizens of Stanley County, and whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners wishes to express its deep commitment to protecting the rights to keep and bear arms of all Stanley County citizens who are legally authorized to own and possess a firearm, whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners wishes to express opposition to any law, regulation, or other act that would unconstitutionally restrict or infringe upon the rights of the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution and under the North Carolina Constitution of the law-abiding citizens of Stanley County to keep and bear arms. And whereas the Stanley County Board of Commissioners wishes to express its intent for Stanley County to stand as a sanctuary county for Second Amendment rights and to oppose, within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and the state of North Carolina, any efforts by any entity to unconstitutionally restrict such rights, and to use such legal means at its disposal, including but not limited to withholding of funds, direction of county employees, legal action, and any other means deemed necessary and legal in order to protect the rights of law-abiding Stanley County citizens to keep and bear arms. Now, therefore, it be resolved by the Stanley County Board of Commissioners in coordination with the Sheriff and the Stanley County Sheriff's Office that it hereby expresses its intent to uphold the Second Amendment rights of the law-abiding citizens of the Stanley County. That Stanley County government will respect and defend the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding Stanley County citizens. That the Stanley County Board of Commissioners implores the North Carolina Legislature and United States Congress to preserve, uphold, and protect the rights of all law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms under the United States Constitution and North Carolina Constitution, and further implores the North Carolina Legislature and the United States Congress to reject any provision, law, or regulation that may infringe, have the tendency to infringe, or place any additional burden on the right of law-abiding citizens to bear arms. That Stanley County government will not authorize or appropriate public funds, resources, employees, agencies, contractors, buildings, or offices to be used to restrict or infringe upon Second Amendment rights, or to aid or assist in the enforcement of the unnecessary and unconstitutional restriction or infringement of the rights of the law-abiding citizens of Stanley County to keep and bear arms pursuant to the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution. So basically, with this, we're one election away from being in a situation such as Virginia, which basically is leading this. One election away and North Carolina could be in this same boat. With this resolution, I look at it as being proactive versus reactive. Folks, I like to tell folks, it all begins at the ballot box. And that's how Virginia got in the state they are. And if it was up to the left, they would take over every state they could and try to take all of our guns. We're here to stand up as much as we legally can for the citizens of Stanley County. I've worked with Sheriff Crisco on crafting this. Make sure I called him when I was right before I added this to agenda. I wanted to make sure I had his approval for this and that he was on board with this. And I'd like to call Sheriff Crisco up to say a few words, if you would, please, Sheriff.
Thank you very much. I want to commend Commissioner Morgan, because unbeknownst to me, he had citizens reach out to him. I had seen a couple resolutions going around, one being in Iredell County. Sheriff Darren Campbell's a very good friend of mine, so I reached out to him. Commissioner Morgan was working on a resolution the same time I was, and we just didn't know it. So it says a lot right there. Myself and the commissioners are trying to look out what's in the best interest of our citizens in this county. We will, and we have, and we always will, because we're here to protect y'all. That's our job, that's my job, and that's your deputy's job. We're here to protect y'all. I feel very positive about this resolution, and moving forward, I think it's gonna be a great thing for us. That's it.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Commissioner Morgan. I'm going to change things up slightly because I know some of you folks have signed up to speak or wish to speak either for or against this resolution. I'm going to start with the folks that signed up to speak, and I'll call them up. We're going to hold the same public hearing rules and allow you to speak for this resolution before we take a vote on it. And the speakers are limited to 3 minutes. If you are speaking on behalf of a group of people that is here, we will limit that to 5 minutes. First on my list is Mr. Floyd Reinhardt.
First of all, I want to thank you, gentlemen, and ladies, for having me here today to be allowed to speak. I want to address my concerns regarding something that the sheriff had said earlier, and I haven't heard that retracted yet today. He stated, until the Second Amendment is rewritten or taken away by the federal government, we will protect the rights of this country. If the state or federal government happens to ever pass a law banning assault rifles or other types of military rifles, then Stanley would enforce the law, because it still does not infringe on the totality of the Second Amendment rights to bear arms. That still gives us the right to have a handgun or a hunting rifle. I want to give the sheriff the benefit of a doubt. At the same time, I think he needs to be educated on the true meaning of the Second Amendment, because it doesn't appear that he understands it in totality. It's not about my right to hunt. It's not about my right to protect my family. The Second Amendment was specifically written to ensure that citizens have the means and weaponry at their disposal necessary to defend themselves from an overreaching and tyrannical government, such as we're seeing the rise of today. His willingness to blindly comply with any government ruling, such as I heard and read, regardless of its constitutionality, that limits or takes away our right to possess the type of weaponry that we need to defend ourselves and the Republic from this state, to defend our Republic of the United States, is exactly why we're here tonight. His department went on record and said that if the government banned these types of weapons, that he would not take them away from anybody who already possessed them. Now, all this tells me is that I need to go out now and purchase an AR-15. So I want to ask, sir, what will you do when the state decides to confiscate firearms from those that already possess them? I say when, not if, because it's only a matter of time, not a matter of if, that we will see the urban areas of this great state outvoting the rural areas in general elections, and then we'll face the same threat that Virginia faces today. I would like the sheriff to take a clear stand on that, especially if this is his intention, because I'm not comfortable with this intention by the sheriff. Thank you, sir, and I realize my time is up. I just want to thank you again, and God bless this state, and God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt. I believe next is Miss Allie Malden. Say that wrong.
Thank you, members of the council, for allowing me to come here tonight. This is the first time I've ever done this. But I come here supporting our sheriff, wanting to make Stanley County a sanctuary city for gun owners. I've owned guns my whole life, and my guns has never been raised in anger against anybody. But yet, I'm having to carry the burden when someone wants to take my Second Amendment rights. God give us this right. If you'll look in Luke, it says if a man has a cloak but not a sword, let him sell his cloak and buy a sword. That meant God wanted us to be armed to take care of ourselves and our families. We see our Second Amendment rights being put under attack through other states, just like in Virginia. The governor of Virginia wanted to step up and write laws in a place and didn't even give the people the opportunity to even vote on what he wanted to do. That's not right. I'm here tonight to support the Second Amendment, and I'm here to support anyone that believes in the right to keep and bear arms. That's what this country was founded on. If it was not for guns, right now each one of us would either be speaking German or Japanese, or there wouldn't be a United States. I ask you to uphold our sheriff and make Stanley County a sanctuary city for gun owners. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malden. Next, I have an Eddie Poplin.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. I feel like I've had my thunder stole. Like one of the previous people said, not used to doing this. I was going to read something, but I couldn't get my printer to print because it's out of ink, as usual. So I just want to say that I want to support the efforts you're making to do this. I'm 100% in favor of it. And support the sheriff and basically follow the Second Amendment and the Constitution to its original foundations with the spirit that it was meant to be. If anyone looks at online to see what, if you say Google the founder's opinion of the Second Amendment, you'll find 40 different quotes by or more from different of our founders. And I looked at it actually this morning to see how many there was, and through all of them, I never saw any quote by any of the founding fathers that was negative to the right to keep and bear arms. All of them were positive. That's the main thing I wanted to say. Thank you for your efforts. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Poplin. That's all I had on the list sign up. I will open it up if there's anybody else to speak for or against the resolution.
Yeah, my name's JD, and I was going to run for District 1 in Anson County. So what I want to do is mention the word sanctuary. I wish it didn't have to be a sanctuary, because that means we're surrounded by areas that aren't in the sanctuary. And I was just going to say, I'm coming here tonight to listen to how you all pull this thing off, because if I get in there in Anson County, the sanctuary will grow if I can get it to grow, because sanctuary means a little area surrounded by big stuff that's different. And I'd like us to expand the area. So I just appreciate what y'all are doing, and hopefully we can get behind you one county over. So.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else to speak? All right, if not, I'll close the public comment period for that, for the time being. I'll ask for a motion from the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Morgan,
I make a motion that we approve the resolution as it's been presented.
a motion to approve the resolution as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
I have several seconds from across the dais up here. I just have to pick one. We're gonna go with, I think Commissioner Barbie threw one out there. Second from Commissioner Barbie. Is there any other discussion from commissioners?
Yes, I'd like to ask if something, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Barbie, go ahead.
I'd like to see if it'd be appropriate to add in the amendment any type firearm, magazine, or accessory to be included in the sanctuary. Just to make sure.
You offer, I think I'm understanding Commissioner Barbie right. He would like to offer an amendment to the resolution as presented. Does that have to go through some sort of legal ease?
No, Mr. Chairman, I think if you all would want to add that language to the resolution, we can make that change. As long as it's approved by the majority of the board, of course.
All right, Commissioner Barbie has offered an amendment, and I'll ask him to restate it just so I can make sure I have it correct. And then we'll ask for a second to that amendment.
Okay, I'd like for the amendment to include any type firearm, magazine, or accessory to be included in the sanctuary.
So,
Could you word that possession? Would you have to word that in possession?
In possession?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it thinks the same thing.
okay.
so an amendment to add the words, any type of firearm, magazine, or accessory. I'm not sure exactly what paragraph we would add that to, but if Commissioner Barbie's okay with if we move forward with this amendment, we'll have the county attorney add that where appropriate. Is there a second to the amendment? Second by Commissioner Allman to add the amendment to the resolution. Is there any discussion?
Question, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Lawhon.
It says any firearm, and I own firearms, but are they illegal firearms that are out there?
What you mean by illegal?
I mean, would a machine gun be an illegal firearm?
You can legally possess it. You have to legally possess it. You
Okay.
have to have a
Legally,
permit. You have to have a permit to get it.
to legally possess.
Yes, sir.
Legally possessing, yes.
Yes. And I think I think another part of the very first paragraph addresses that issue, law-abiding citizens, so you would be able to legally possess it.
I think what Commissioner Barbie was talking about, to clarify, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, a couple of counties have gone so far as to say if their state institutes a magazine ban, a high-capacity magazine ban, or if their state institutes a policy against bump stocks or pistol grips, that we will not, correct. Not to extend to anything like trying to allow fully automatic rifles in the hands of people that don't have permits.
Any other discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment by adding any type firearm, magazine, or accessory, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. The amendment carries 7-0. That brings us back to the original resolution. So the original resolution as amended now includes the words any type firearm, magazine, or accessory. Is there any discussion, any further discussion on the resolution? Seeing none. Oh, you already have a motion. There is a motion and a second on the floor. Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution as amended, please raise your hand. Motion carries 7-0.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Burr.
I'd like to go on the record to state that I am a CWP carrier. And I'd like to thank all the people that come out to show their support. That this is something that I feel like is real dear to my heart. I think this is a right for everyone in the county to withstand and be on their own. And I appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Furr. There's no other comment. I'll ask for a motion on the consent agenda this evening. Motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Allman. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Lohan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0. Brings us to the public comment, the official public comment period on the agenda. And I do have one additional person signed up to speak on a topic not related to earlier topics, and that's a Miss Phibbs. Phibbs?
I've got it out. So good evening, Chairman Swain and Commissioners. I'm Amy Phibbs. Thank you for the opportunity to share tonight about a new affordable educational option coming to students in Stanley County called Heritage Classical Academy. Heritage Classical Academy will provide an excellent Christ-centered classical education to the students of Stanley County. We will start with kindergarten in August of 2020 and add a grade each year. To see effective, lasting, beneficial change in education, in our economy, in our culture and community, it's going to take courage and wisdom. It's going to mean no more excuses and no more blame, no more doing the same old thing, but really thinking outside of today's box and going back to what is time-tested and true. And like many classical Christian schools across the nation, Heritage Classical Academy will do just that. You can learn more about each of our following core values at myheritageclassical.com, but we will be Christ-centered. We will follow a classical model. We will have high expectations and parental partnership, and we will provide affordable access by having an income-adjusted tuition for families of all socioeconomic backgrounds. We envision Heritage Classical Academy as a thriving K-12 school that will cultivate kingdom citizens who will serve to rebuild, restore, and renew their families, their communities, and the generations now and to come. We are modeling heritage after schools like Brookstone Schools in Charlotte and Hope Academy in Minneapolis, who have proven schools with majority populations of economically disadvantaged students can excel, not just academically, but socially and spiritually. Like Brookstone and Hope Academy, we believe, by God's grace and power, that Heritage Classical Academy can be a solution to Stanley County's problems. We believe it is time for students in Stanley County to flourish, and we believe, despite their socioeconomic background, students should have a choice in education. We will be renting space for our school from the Gathering Church, which has an excellent, safe space with great parking and traffic flow right in the heart of downtown Albemarle. And we'd love to have you and our neighbors join us Monday night, January 27th from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Gathering for our first open house. We are so excited to have a leader in classical school movement coming to demonstrate what a classical Christian classroom will look like. And Jason and I will be sharing more about parental partnership, our income-adjusted tuition, and the North Carolina Opportunity Scholarship, which opens January 31st. So to close, we ask you as leaders in our community to see Heritage Classical Academy as a good thing, and we ask you to advocate for us, for educational choice, and for the students of Stanley County. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anybody else that wishes to add public comment? Seeing none, we will go to board comments, announcements, and committee reports. I'm going to start with Commissioner Furr this evening. Thank you. Commissioner Allman?
Just have a few quick remarks. I'd like to thank Commissioner Morgan and Sheriff Crisco for bringing the Second Amendment resolution to the board. I'm a concealed carry holder as well as a lifetime member of the NRA, and I know we're going to catch a little flack for the resolution this evening, but quite frankly, I can't find any cares to give. Yeah. The bottom line is that liberals in Raleigh, Congress, and the Virginia legislature have gotten out of control. And worst of all, now we have liberal judges who no longer interpret the Constitution as written. They just interpret it any old way they please when they wake up in the morning. All government is local, and when our neighbors in Virginia are getting their Second Amendment rights trampled on, the people of Stanley County need to know where we stand. Lastly, I would like to thank Congressman Richard Hudson for standing with us on this issue, and I appreciate his work that he did last year on the concealed carry reciprocity bill, and this board appreciates that also. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Morgan?
I'd just like to, again, thank everybody for coming out and showing your support. This means a lot to me personally, and I think, as you can see, our whole board stands behind this as well as our sheriff. So thank y'all for your support for this resolution.
Commissioner Lawhon?
I appreciate the citizens that are here tonight. I know I love my freedom. I think you all love yours also. And part of that freedom is the rights to bear arms. It's also the right, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and lots of other freedoms. And I don't know of another country around us that have freedoms like the American people do. And we need to protect those freedoms, and I think we've done that tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Jordan?
I thank Commissioner Morgan for the resolution. I am a, kind of like Zach said, I'm an NRA member, I'm an NRA recruiter, I'm a firearms instructor, a firearms owner, and I carry everywhere the law will allow me. Today makes it one more good day to be a Tar Heel.
Mr. Barbie?
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate the support out there for the Second Amendment rights, for the sheriff and his words, and also Commissioner Morgan for bringing all this up. It means a lot that we know they got support of the county in something like this, so I appreciate that. And I'm part of the Senior Advisory Committee, which I know this board doesn't have anything control over, but maybe you, if people of the county, can speak to the city of Albemarle. They're fixing to change 3rd Street to a one-way direction with angle parking all the way down to Montgomery Avenue. And most of the time there's not a problem with that because we do have it one-way part of the time now because of the school traffic. But the problem, if it goes full-time one way, it's going to eliminate 4 or 5 handicap parking places in front of the senior center, which is very important for those seniors to be able to get in and out of their cars safely. Yes. And so I would appreciate your support and maybe drop a word off to the city or the mayor or whatever to not have this be one way full time, because that's going to really inconvenience some people that really need those handicap parking places there in front of the senior center. And thank you so much.
I won't take much time. I echo many of the comments up here tonight, actually almost all of them. I appreciate the work that Commissioner Morgan did on the resolution. He contacted me probably 2 weeks ago, I guess, right after the last meeting, and wanted to know if he could run with it and if I would support it. And I wholeheartedly told him yes at the time, and I still wholeheartedly support it. And I appreciate the fact that the sheriff offered his input and supported it as well. I didn't know he was working on one, but I'm kind of glad to see our sheriff was working on one. I appreciate all of you folks coming out and sharing your thoughts with us tonight. We don't always get that. Usually there's our two regulars right here on the front row, and that's sometimes it. So, you know, always come out and see us, share your opinions, and make sure we're doing what the people of Stanley County want us to be doing. That's what we want. So I appreciate you guys coming out. On another note, many of you know that I'm a first responder, work with the fire department here in the county, and I would like to welcome publicly the new Albemarle City Fire Chief. He started today, actually, and I think it's a welcome sight that they've got a chief in place that has a wealth of experience. And that wealth of experience goes beyond the city of Albemarle, because we have a firefighters association here in the county. And, you know, the chief or his chief officers are actively involved in that. And they actually share a lot of knowledge with the volunteer stations across the county as well. So we're glad to have a chief that brings that background to the county, and the city, I know, will appreciate his wealth of knowledge too. That's all my comments, and shortly I will proudly affix my signature to the resolution, and it will be official. So I appreciate all of you coming. If there's no other, if there's no other comment, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. A motion from Commissioner Morgan. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner Jordan. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries 7-0.